in a support group.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the CPL Civ 6 Weekly Podcast. This is number 22, and we're looking back a week of review of Rise and Fall. Joining me, as always, is King Louis XIV, and I am, of course, Sarnath. And our guests tonight include 2B and Salt Creek. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, gentlemen.
What's up?
Hello.
This 2B reminds me of somebody. I'm not sure who it is.
Oh, 2B or not 2B, I guess.
Nah, I'm just a new player trying to learn Civ. Don't mind me.
So we've had a whole week to just delve and dive into the game, and a lot of things have been uncovered, from bugs to new mods creeping up in the workshop. We've had a lot of feedback from all sorts of players from different things. What do you guys think has really stood out the most this past week?
The game is more smooth, I'd say. A lot less crashing. There are still some turn change problems where it kind of freezes, but rejoining lobbies is a lot easier. Less errors. I don't know. I think they fixed a lot more problems than they actually made this time for once. So that's nice. More fixes, less problems. At least for the connect.
Everybody seems to really like the expansion that I hear so far in the league. So I think it's getting pretty good reviews.
I mean, I agree that I only started the league maybe a week before the expansion hit, and even those few games I played then and now with the Rise and Fall, the game is definitely a lot more smoother, less crashes, easier to hot join if there is a problem. I think 2B said that the biggest problem we have is just on turn rollover. That's when problems can occur.
I think it's making the game longer, though, right? That's what even duels seem longer with it.
It's not duels; it's everywhere. It's because the science inspiration boost and the civics, science Eureka boost and the civics inspiration boost were both nerfed from 50 to 40%. So the boosts only give you 10% less. And then each population only gives you 0.5 science instead of 0.7 science. So the whole horse rush by turn 22 to through to 25, 26 is now horse rush someone at turn 28 through 34. Because getting
snowball now, isn't it? Is it harder to snowball now because if you take somebody's city near their cities?
You can. I mean, yes, it depends. Like, it's hard to snowball if you are, like, if you're playing a really warmongery civ, like you're playing Rome, you're playing Mongolia, you're in the med game with Zulu, you're gonna roll, or you're playing with Mapuche and you're killing the person in a golden era, golden age, then you're gonna run through them fast no matter what. But if just a regular war and you take a city, it's a lot harder to move on forward because you need to leave back like a little occupation force sometimes, just to
tends
make
to flip
sure.
back. Every time I've seen it, if I have two cities, like three cities, and somebody takes one of them, the city always revolts back to me because of the pressure from the other two cities.
Well, what they can do is put a governor in there. The moment you put that governor in, even though it takes 5 turns or 3 turns for the Castilian governor to get to actually use its abilities, the moment you actually just put it there, it'll automatically boost the loyalty in that city by 8. And then you can also put policy cards and other things and garrison a unit. I've noticed that if you put a unit inside the city, of an occupied city, not one of your own, but of an occupied city that you've just taken, it will also increase the loyalty if you're occupying it.
I'm wondering if that's a throwback to some of the earlier Civ games. For example, in Civilization 3, you could garrison X number of units within cities based on your government choice, but they were a military police to control things like revolts and unhappy citizens. And I'm wondering if this is based on that original system, but just more specialized.
I feel like I felt like I was playing like Total War again, where you just put your army for a couple turns in that occupied city and just sit it there to quench the rebellion. And then after the rebellion kind of leaves after like 5 turns or whatever, so like 5 turns in Civ, then you can kind of slowly take some of those units out and send them. So I feel like there should be a mechanic where it takes in part how many units you have in the borders of the city you just took, not just in the city center, but how many units in the border. Because I think it would be silly if you've taken a city and you've completely filled every tile in it. And I'm talking about the mid late game. You fill every tile in that city with your unit, and then it flips to free. All of your units will be kicked out, and where they will be kicked out, we don't know. It'd be the silliest thing to see because I've not yet seen that in a game in the late game. But imagine just 30 units that are inside a city that it's occupied just get kicked out all at once. Like they all just fly out on the turn change.
I've seen that under Rebellion. Not like 30 units, but it was about 7 or 8, I think. Guy captured a city and then he lost it a couple turns later, and he lost all his units, which was really unfortunate for him because, I mean, he had the ability to recapture it if he didn't get kicked out of the borders. But since he got kicked out of
They
the
lose them,
borders,
or did they just get kicked? They actually disappear.
They all
No, well,
disappear. They just get kicked out.
yeah, they just kicked him out to the edge of the borders. So by the time he moved back in, the guy who he took the city from was able to recapture it.
Yep. It's just such a silly mechanic, the kicking out thing. It should not work like that. If it flips free, then it flips free, but it should not kick out any of your units. It just doesn't make sense from a logical standpoint.
Even to expand on that more, I mean, the city is in a state of open rebellion. There's no way to formalize, controlled borders in that situation in any sense. So it should be like before players get the early Empire Civic, which enforces your borders. Where before you get that, people could just move in and out of your borders freely. That's how it should be for these free cities, I feel.
Maybe. Or we should be able to burn a city. Not burn it, but like reduce its population like in Civ 5 to reduce the loyalty or whatever, its unhappiness or whatever, so it doesn't rebel. Like if you kill enough of the population in there, it might like decrease your amenities in your empire, but it won't allow that city to rebel. Like I feel like that would be an interesting mechanic. Like you just basically killing the citizens of that city, but and also in turn stopping any chance of rebellion before it happens.
Are you seeing people? I would think some people would be, especially in these FFA games, putting like popping up 2 cities near somebody and then get a heroic age, and then they get that 2 for every population, so they can try to swing cities. Is that happening some?
It's 1.5.
That's 2 for a heroic.
Oh, it's heroic too.
Yes, in a golden age, it's 1.5.
You could flip some cities, right? Or at least you can hold on to them if you've got some milk. They won't flip back to the other guy while you're in heroic age. So
unless you're at war with Mapuche and he starts killing your units, that city's flipping no matter what you do.
At least put cities near somebody if you're in the heroic age, I think.
I think that the whole loyalty thing is easily managed from a defender point of view. Like if someone's trying to flip your city in a peaceful way, it's pretty easy to make sure that it doesn't flip into rebellion. I mean, it kind of ruins your cards, your policy cards, and where your governors are and their promotions for those governors. But if you really want to defend a city and make sure it doesn't get flipped, even in a dark age, you can do it. Like
against the guy that's heroic, isn't that going to be hard if the other guy's got heroic and he's got cities near you?
Today with Gunslinger, it was a golden age and I was in a dark age, and I put a forward city right on the face of his capital, and I held it, and it flipped only once after like 20 turns of it being there, and he was in golden and I was in dark age, and I was right on him. So it's possible. You need to work. You need to occupy. You you got to put in the right cards, put in the right governor, and do the right promotions just to hold it. But
is that happening a lot though? Is it changing? Are people being less military and more like loyalty to Flip cities? Or is it still the same?
No, everyone's military, but it's loyalty is more like a hey, it's a how to describe it? It feels like a system where you can't just like plant a city in the middle of nowhere because it's just going to disappear. It's going to rebel and you're fucked. You need like a couple of cities. Like if you all of a sudden plant a lot of cities out of nowhere, like there's a huge plot of land, but there's other cities. If you like, it says -20. But if you plant other settlers around it and you chop out the population, like with the free builder, you just chop rice or chop jungle into the population. The population add extra loyalty, so all those new freshly planted cities somewhere else will all be, helping each other in the middle of nowhere. So that's the thing you can do. But loyalty isn't really a big factor. It just kind of discourages people from face planting on other people's cities for no reason.
It must slow down a little, Snowball. Like you can't just take somebody's city and then own it like before.
Oh yeah. I had one of the games before ranked. I was playing Dutch and I was wearing this Cree, and I had to deal with 9 rebellions while killing the guy. Because no matter what I did, the city would keep on flipping. Because
that's a big change,
I was
right?
far
Before
away from
you
the
would have
cities.
you would have just rolled over that guy. Now it's like taking longer.
Now I have to pull back some units for you, take the city, then put them back to fighting. Have one person. This is before I knew that having a unit inside the city center actually reduces the chance of flipping or increasing its own loyalty.
Just the fact that it's taking you longer to like roll over people, that's going to make the game a little longer.
I mean, everything's making the game longer. Having city states apply their buffs on 3 and 6 envoys only on the tier 1 and tier 2 buildings. Like you can't just have the district; you need to have the appropriate buildings at the right scale. That decreases the speed significantly.
You're seeing more tall cities
when you get to
with tall cities instead of just spamming cities all over the place.
I've been going more tall. But if I go on a mass murder spree and I do have the room and the appropriate amount of hills per city to plant, I will spam a lot of cities. Today I had a game where I had 27 cities on turn 57 is Mongolia because I conquered 3 people.
Holy crap.
One of them was Gunslinger. But the game went to nukes. I had some of my cities raised, but the thing is, you can go tall. Like the Japan Sosek, or now his name is WE4X. He was Japan on 6 cities, and he was matching me with science until turn 90. And I was on 27 cities, and he was on 6.
Is it weird seeing when you go to your ranking, not seeing like 2,800 wins and now only seeing like 15? Started over.
Hasn't been reported. Doesn't matter.
I mean, at the end of the day,
they've reported some.
Like a lot of things that we originally thought were going to be the case, they haven't fully turned out that way. And a prime example of this is Scotland as a civ. The original outlook when we were looking at all the civs that came out is that Scotland really wasn't going to be that great. But I've been watching a lot of the games. I've played a couple of games over the week of Unranked, and it was pretty incredible in the hands of some of the other players within the league and other communities out there to see what they could do to really make it shine. And it turned into quite the mid to late game powerhouse in terms of what it could produce and its science.
Yeah, it's pretty good civ. I mean, the thing is with it's just its spawn bias unknown. I think it has like a hill spawn bias, or like a tundra hill. It starts somewhere in the tundra hills, and then you just have a lot of hills in the area. I think that kind of helps. I haven't had a single Scotland game or a game where I see Scotland and not a lot of hills. And then you also have mountains around Scotland, as I see a lot. And then all you need to do is make sure your people are happy and you're getting free campus and engineer points in all your cities that you have those districts in. So you can have like 16.9 scientist points, but you only have like 5 campuses, which is crazy, and without Divine Spark.
Do you feel like because it's all new for everybody, do you feel like your advantage over people is less, or not, it's
No.
you still the same?
No, I already understand most of the mechanics. Like, I didn't know the Highlander had 2 range. Like, okay, that's an interesting idea to explore. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think artillery spam with balloons is way better.
I mean, that Highlander, though, I mean, that's... You have... If you get it up to a level 3, look at a 90 strength and you have a general. That's huge.
Artillery is 80 plus a general. 85 core, it's 95. If you have the 2 promotions that make it so that it can do full damage to the land units, it's 95 range attack. You get a balloon, it's 95 from 3 range. You get it the last promotion, you have a 4 range attack, 95 damage unit. That's in modern, early modern. So that's pretty broken. All you need to do is get artillery, hold against a tank wave that comes at you, buy a few balloons, and then kill everything. It's just a wall of death. They come to you, you just sit behind a river, and you just 1-shot or 2-3 shot all those units. They all die. They try to hit you, but you're over a river. You have the extra +5. You're on a hill or whatever, and you just line of artillery providing support bonus. As they advance slowly, they just massacre the enemy's army and then take their cities. It's just a wave of death that I tried once in Scotland, and it worked so well. It was it was unstoppable.
Wave of F death
is better now that Bombard has extra combat bonus.
Sorry?
Archers have less. I think that's good. It was stupid that the archers could take down ships, I thought.
Yeah,
that's an improvement.
The game I had today is Mongolia. I had a 4 range attack artillery that was 1-shotting battleship cores. Because it had the natural extra damage against ships, the extra +10 against ships from the promotion, and it had that 1 extra range one from a drone and 1 from the general, and then 1 from it was just crazy. Like, the drones also give a +5. General gives +5. You have the +10 promotion against Navy. You have another +10 against Navy or whatever as a bombard unit.
Shot.
That's a 1-shot.
Victory? Did you 2B? You got a victory? You nuked everybody? Like, you got?
I nuked. Yeah, I didn't nuke. I did. What happened is I was way ahead in first, and the people in second and third decided to team up instead of CC, and they forced me to play another 4 or 5 hours of the game unnecessarily, because I had the significant science advantage, and I had way more cities, and I could just pump out of 20 plus cities nukes, and they weren't even a nuke tech by the time I had my first nuke finished. So I told them, I read the situation, I saw what they had, I saw their culture, I predicted how much envoys would be able to spend, what type of controlling they would have. The thing is, like, I could see most of the games how they're going to go. And when people make me do something unnecessarily, it just goes like, oh, come on. Just wasting my time here. I've seen this happen so many times. You get air, you get bombers, you get fighters, you get artillery and balloons to hold the naval aspect. And you have all your other cities just chopping nukes.
What about the drones? Are people using those?
I did it. I use the drones. All there's
nice, yeah.
65
I've only had
upgrade.
That long get that far, but I mean, drones are fucking badass.
They really are. They're a general with a balloon, and they do technically stack with the general because they're separate ID effects, and they're intended to stack. And it's
people using spies more.
Oh, definitely. Everyone's using spies more. They're ejecting governors.
Are people getting more into increasing their diplomatic thing so they get more combat? Is that happening more? People?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes, especially as Mongolia, you get a spy into someone and use the diplomatic thing. Oh man, you're just getting another +6 on them. And then
how many levels are there that you can get ahead of somebody?
5.
You can get +15 over somebody if they were stuck in the.
If you're Mongolia, you can have plus 30. Yes, there is the merchant.
Oh,
Mongolia gets double the bonus for the
Mongolia gets double. So if I have 5 intelligence difference on you, I have plus 30.
I'm one-shotting all your units in the same era. Congratulations, you are screwed.
Basically,
It has an extra movement. So if you put it with a general, you got like a what? You got like a super moving horse.
what are you talking about?
If they have that horse that has extra movement.
When they first make the horse, it gets the bonus movement.
No, it's only if you make the Ordu.
It's the building district that you need.
I never made it.
If you put it with a general, then you got like super, like you're getting like +2 movement over any other.
But thing is, you have to assume that the votes for the classical general wasn't an A. If it was voted A, you're gonna have to, when you're invading someone, unless you have borders right on their face, you're gonna be attacking with a general. So it really doesn't matter.
People are still doing A is the most common. What people are doing.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So Salt Creek, in your
people
opinion,
don't have to worry about that anymore.
What was a Civ that you were really excited to see come out with Rise and Fall, but didn't quite meet your expectation? And what was on Civ that surprised you with how well it performed?
I'm not too sure which one that didn't meet my
Korea.
expectations. I think Korea. I thought Korea was going to be really strong, and I think they still are. I'm more of a beginner player, but I haven't really seen too many runaway games with them. The Civ that I thought might not be good, but turns out to be, I think, is really good is the Cree, and that's by far my favorite Civ in the expansion. I love playing the Cree. The trade routes, their scouts, just everything about them. I think they're really fun to play.
I think the Kree are the second worst Civ in the game for the new Civs, easily.
I quite enjoy them. I like the maybe it's just because
you can enjoy them, but from an efficient point of view and what they don't offer much. Like, oh, better trade route. What if you're in a war and you don't really have the ability to do good trade routes? There you go.
They're good at rushing though. They're good like early on because they get the better scout or whatever.
Their mine improvement though is pretty good though.
The mech co-op's okay. It's also situational. It's like a Hanzo, like situational thing. You need to plan it out, and it depends on your spawns and your settles.
But that's really good though, because it means that there's a higher skill cap to some of these civs than we previously saw. As many of the civs are before in vanilla were literally plant your face on one end of the keyboard, roll it across. Congratulations, there's a good chance you killed somebody. It's like having a bunch of archers as America and being on the same continent as someone.
I mean, it's harder, I guess, but the
people having to make peace more often because of the war awareness is making your cities go, flipping. So you have to go. People having to declare peace more often than they used to now.
I haven't seen that. I mean, I've been in wars that have gone 50, 60 turns, and it's just war to irrelevancy.
Loyalty when you're unhappy.
I haven't noticed any issues with it. That's because all the cities have governors in them, and you're always going to have someone you're going to have a unit garrisoned in there. So I never had issues with loyalty.
Between the governors, the policy cards, and the monuments, you don't really have loyalty problem. I have never had loyalty problems. And in an AI game that I played, I took over a whole civ from one city to the next city on a faraway continent that I was nowhere near. I plopped in a general over there, plopped in a unit in the city, and it was losing loyalty at it'll flip in probably 20 turns. I took another city, and then it went to neutral, and it started gaining loyalty. And as long as you keep more cities, fine.
Definitely, in my opinion, there's a bit larger benefit when you're settling your cities out to kind of spiraling out more instead of just planning wherever the heck you felt like you could before in vanilla Civ 6. Because by spiraling out, you have more cities covering each other with the loyalty effects.
And that is why your cities need to be that basically minimum distance.
No, they don't need to be minimum distant. You need at least 2 cities hitting one city. That's kind of mid-ish far away. Because at least you have 2 cities balancing it. And then if you can chop out the population fast in it, it's going to be totally fine.
Is that happening more? Are people chopping more, or the same as usual? Or
I think everyone's
you
chopping
chop
more.
everything.
Yeah.
What I do is I have my capital, which is usually my highest chop city. Or whatever my highest chop city at the beginning of the game, I chop out either, if I'm going to war, I chop out the encampment general, and then a shit ton of horses or a shit ton of whatever you need. Or if I'm going peaceful and I know I have room and I'm friendly or allied with my neighbors, I'm going to chop out my government building, my government plaza, government building, and then just spam a shit ton of settlers. And that's what I would do.
why are people chopping more now than in the vanilla?
Because you get a bigger bang for your buck. Bigger bang.
More for
Are you
chopping now?
kidding me, Louis?
Where were you,
Slow
Louis?
on the, I'm just getting going on the chopping thing. I'm kind of behind the curve on the chopping thing.
Oh boy.
Do you know what Magnus does?
More for chops now than you used to? See, I'm just
100%. 100.
Double.
Well, good that I'm finally getting to chopping then. This is a good time to get on the chopping thing. I'm actually doing it now. I'm chopping
Basically,
stuff.
chop out any project instantly, and then also have some overflow in the next project.
Long run, you ruined your land though, right? Because you don't have any.
Not
don't have
necessarily.
Not really.
You
no.
chop
not
and replace
really.
with mine. You chop mine, chop mine, chop mine. That's what you're supposed to do. What I do is I chop everything, and then I make sure I have some remaining builders. Or the last thing that I make with the overflow is another builder, and then I re-improve the land. The faster you can chop everything with Magnus, the faster you can take Magnus and put it into another city and do the same thing. It's just you cycle it. You just cycle from
Go
this
from
city to this city to this
to
city.
Yeah.
And
And
then
you
you have seemingly endless settlers, endless builders, endless
Yes.
whatever you need to generate. Because with the second promotion, as you're chopping these settlers out, they're not reducing the population of the city. So there's no real penalty to it because it used to be a huge risk investment versus whether you chopped something now versus later. That's no longer the case because you're
start getting
doubling the
housing.
base value of the chop. And then
It's
it
like
gets
housing issues,
multiplied
right?
by all the cards.
It's not a problem.
No, there are no housing issues.
Always get stuck on like the
It's
house. It's hard to
literally-
get the house going when my city gets like 7 or 8, like 6 or
Literally,
7.
I had a city that was 15 population on the coast, and its housing was 8. I just chopped out all the jungle around it with Magnus.
But
Just
it's not.
went straight
So it's
up.
you're getting a 75% penalty, but you're just growing anyway. You're just dealing with it.
Yeah.
Because I
You always
chopped
deal with
the
it,
food. Yeah, it doesn't do any amenity problems. It doesn't do any type of production reduction problems. If you have a shit ton of population overhousing, it doesn't do anything. It just doesn't grow the city. But I'm like, if it's not really going to grow anyways, and I'm really going to chop all these jungles and all these rice and then re-improve it however I feel like, all of a sudden I go from 6 pop city to a 15 pop city after using 5 feudals and builder charges in that city. And then I can also, from those chops, chop them into the districts and into the buildings of the district. So all of a sudden I go from a 6 population city with 1 or 2 already completed, or maybe just 1 completed district, to a 15, 14 population city with 4 completed districts with the buildings in them, with some overflow left over. And especially, that's even strong if you have Monumentality Golden Age and just faith builders. That's the best part.
Yeah, if you
Like
have
that
a
one
city
wonder that gives you-
has like a lot of marshes, like you plant that city and all of a sudden you're at fucking like 10 pop.
There's that one wonder that gives you +4 housing and +3 food that I like. That
Artemis. So good.
That
Oh, yeah, the
is
Temple
only-
Artemis.
Oh,
Every
yeah,
camp
yeah.
that's within 4 of it, you get another bonus. I forget
Well,
what
it's
it
more
is.
than just camps. It's
It's camps.
No, it's just camps.
pastures, and it's
Plantations.
plantations.
Yeah.
Yes. But
Yeah.
what I've been finding though is I'm not having a lot of camps around.
Yeah.
but that
Like, I have a
goes.
lot of clusters of things I want to put it there, but I mean I don't have any camps.
I chop my deer.
I
Chop
mean,
the deer after you plant
one-
Artemis.
Yeah, you improve it. If you really want It came with a shit ton of Plains Hills. You have an endless amount of Plains Hills. Like, it's the perfect Plains Hill Aurora City. But you don't have the food. You chop, you improve the deer, and then you put the Artemis next to it, and then you just chop it out with Magnus into. You just double chop Artemis out immediately. Like, 2 chops is all it takes. The second chop is overkill, really, but it gets you done immediately in one turn.
It's one of those things that a lot of the early wonders that were ignored because their production was too high, they're being instantly built because of Magnus. Magnus seems to be like the root of that problem, or wonder, I guess. It depends on how you want to look at it. But the lack of camps and some other things, a lot of people have been complaining about not being able to use abundant resources with balanced starts, because Firaxis pointed out that it causes a spawn issue. And there have been a number of mods coming out on the workshop that I've been keeping an eye on. And Wazbaza did update his Better Starts mods and has got that working for Rise and Fall, and that seems to have been widely accepted by just about everybody in the community. Everyone seems to love it and is happy, but they still can't use abundant resources.
Yes, you can.
He said it'll put you in snow.
He updated it again to where he took Fireaxe's old code that they apparently just took out and put it back in, so now you can use abundant.
And I have put the link for Waz's Better Start mod from the workshop into chat for those of you watching, whether it's Twitch or YouTube Live. That link should be there for you.
Hellblazer, I thought I saw something online that Hellblazer is back modding again. I don't know if that's true or not though.
It's likely he's working on an NQ mod update.
He's been I've seen him modding a little bit on stream, so I think he's doing something.
It'll be really good to have our modding community back together, because not just CPL, but for everybody out there in the Civilization community. Because we had a lot of our modders out there just walk away because they were very upset. There wasn't any transparency from Firaxis to them with all the changes, and it just made it a nightmare for them to update their thing, update their work. And hopefully we'll see a positive step in terms of transparency from Firaxis, so where they don't worry about losing those people that have returned or losing more down the road.
Hope we can get that Baba Yetu guy to play more Civ 6. I went to his stream. The guy's got like over 2 million lifetime. He had like 260 people watching him play Civ 5. It's amazing. But I heard he played one game of 6.
He played with it was 8 people game. I was in it. No, it was a 6-person game. Sorry.
Good at Civ 6 too.
I mean, he's not a noob, but golly gee, he does not know the meta, and it showed a lot.
That would be a major like boost for the league if he got into Civ 6, because he has such a big following. You know, on like I said, 2 million like views lifetime, over 2 million, and
I've been in there in their lobby and stuff talking about Civ 6, and it looks like most of his viewers like him way much more prefer him playing Civ 5 than Civ 6. Like, some of them are okay with Civ 6, but I think his target demographic is still Civ 5 players.
Well, if you follow like Steam, you guys follow like Steam stats or Steam Spy, it shows like finally there's more people playing Civ 6 than 5. It finally passed right when the expansion came out, so that's a good sign.
Well, that's bound to happen. Whenever you have a new major release for a game, it's going to have a spike increase in popularity. The real test of time, so to speak, is going to be whether or not Firaxis can maintain those numbers. And hopefully it won't be like Civ 5, where it took almost to the end of the game's lifespan to really achieve its popularity, because there were so many issues early on.
Members, right? So far since the expansion.
Yeah, I'm a new member. I think going from like just the base Civ 6 game to now, like even in my limited experience, which is I don't know how many hours it is, the game is much improved at this point. It's much more enjoyable. And there's still like some things I don't like about it, but it's definitely a lot more fun.
I've had it where a noob city-state pieced me while I was warring it. It was pretty interesting. Like, I knew he didn't know what that, kind of a basic mechanic is. But I was like, oh man, just fucked me out of killing the city state right now. So I killed him instead. And then I killed the city state. I was like, I'm gonna kill the city state, then this noob, and then the noob Sue's pieced me with the city state somehow. I was like, okay, you die now. I'll get the city state on the way out.
I mean, the biggest shock that I had was in a multiplayer game, a barbarian camp actually started the siege and attacked my city. Like, actually attacked my city.
Yeah, they're a bit smarter now. Praxis did say multiple times that they had been working on the AI's development, especially the barbarians.
Oh,
Barbs are fucking awesome now.
can I just add this? I almost lost a city today to AI. I was warring Yerevan, and it was just one dropping swords on me.
Jesus Christ!
Really early in the game, super early. I was trying to kill it, and he just fucking started dropping swords at 45 wall strength defense out of nowhere. And
Do you think they're stronger now?
I pieced it out, and then I declared war on Kree just to pillage his shit, not even invade him to kill him. And he somehow Sue's it the same turn, the turn after I pieced it. And I declared war on me, and all its units were still kind of close to where I just put a city, and that city got into the red and almost died. And if I hit next turn, it would have died. But what I did, I was like, I'm Pericles. Instead of putting my envoys into a gold city state and getting golds, I'll waste 3 envoys with a 1-for-2 policy card to outsue's Kree, so I don't lose my city. It was like the saddest thing ever. Like all these free envoys that I got from Acropolises have to be wasted because the city state is threatening the safety of my freshly planted city.
I mean, it's very humbling. I mean, a lot of players, for the single player people out there, I'm sure have noticed as well, that the DD AI in a lot of different ways is a bit harder to tackle now. It has a lot of the same core, issues. And of course, it's easier in some ways because it no longer starts with 3 settlers. But it does have, a cubic shitbrick of warriors that it wants to declare war on you with from turn 1.
They start with 4 warriors.
That didn't look what Pericles showed up on your doorstep with on turn 12.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they start with 4, but I mean, they immediately start pumping out shit.
The thing is, with the DD AI in Civ 6 compared to Civ 5, the DD AI in Civ 5 are actually intelligent. Civ 6 just spam out a shit ton of units. No,
Civ 5 they weren't.
I played it recently, and it not just warned me, but it flanked me. It did naval and land-based attacks, just out of nowhere. It's like
the AI is better, so they made the AI better now in the expansion.
I don't know. But I think the the CS side is stronger.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I mean, it's back in Civ 5, the AI was dumb as bricks. I mean, they just send a whole land army over the water and just float them around. They would send countless carriers with nothing on them, and just float around doing nothing.
Well, I don't know.
One time I had this probably 50 tile inland sea, and the AI actually put 2 aircraft on the carrier. I'm like, holy crap, that's actually cool. And he could have kept the carrier all the way in his borders and flown his planes over to my land and just wrecked me. Because I mean, Civ 5 AI loved to use bombers, but what's the guy do? He takes that aircraft carrier and sends it right adjacent to my city. I'm like, oh, well, thank you. I'm just gonna kill that now. And immediately killed it. They have no tactics. Same as Civ 6.
I think it's a change that they've made. That's an important change too, right? That when you bring your ship, your guys over without they can get hit, they can't attack back on the water anymore, like regular units. Like if you attack a melee unit when it's in the water with your ship, they don't get any. They're weaker now than they used to be, or they don't get to attack back, or something changed with that. I thought
they're 30 strength no matter what. You put a scout in the water, you're just 30 strength.
It's based on your what era you're in.
something, didn't they? Like it's easier to kill.
It's because it's based on the era you're in, and that's because based on your technology is whether or not you have a pile of sticks strung together or you have an inflatable lifeboat.
They don't attack back anymore. Something's different now with the expansion that before how the water combat is. I thought they changed it with the melee. They don't get any attack against you anymore. You just gonna hit them.
Embarked units, they have a combat strike just to determine the damage they take.
They can't. Before they could deal damage. Then in the vanilla they could deal damage,
on
right?
water can't deal damage.
Or no?
No. You attack a ship and you attack a land unit. The ship takes no damage, and the land unit can't attack the ship on water.
They didn't change anything. I thought they changed something with the way the melee units were dealing with the water in the combat.
No.
Speaking of melee and naval, let's talk about Norway for a second. There have been a few games in the league that have happened where Norway has popped off early because archers now suck against ships, and the longboat now has a slightly bigger window of opportunity. Not only just for raiding and grabbing goody huts on the coast or pillaging coastal tiles, but actually taking cities. It's been happening, and not on island maps either. On fractals and Pangeas it's been happening.
I mean, yeah, they did get a little buff because range units... Before, you used to be able to have 1, 2 archers, and a longboat can't take it. Now, you need probably 4 with your own galley in your city to protect it. So it makes him a little stronger. I still don't like Norway. I think Norway's still...
Goody huts are better, though, right? Because they take them now and helps your era score, too.
Yeah, I mean, for taking, stealing settlers on land, stealing builders, and pillaging, a longboat is awesome.
Don't remind me. I had a game recently where I told the dudes, like, listen, I'll give you 100 gold. Just don't pillage my settler that's on this coast. Because I don't have first move to move it away, like, Red Phoenix and all these other first movers. I was like, dude, I'll give you 100 gold. Just, let it be. He didn't respond to me. The last 3 seconds of my turn, I deleted my settler. And it just felt so bad. I was like, better this way than him to steal it.
You gotta be careful with a Norway in the game.
So, because out of nowhere, it was Pangea. It's like, all of a sudden, I see him. Met him right there. Just the most random ass timing. The meet of Norway on a Pangea is just the one time my seller's touching a coast tile, and I don't have first moves on the person.
Why did you have a naked settler?
I naked settler all the time.
Noob.
What's the new
settler jacked?
Civs? Has that changed now? Or like are there old OP ones not as OP anymore? Or is it the same Germany and Scythia?
Everything's been reined in quite a bit by some of the new powerhouses, but some of the old Civs got buffed in their own ways too. I mean, France starts with a higher level of diplomatic visibility. That's free combat strength at all times that France now possesses with, honestly, one of the best start biases in the game. Not to mention early spies, and all of her spies get a free promotion out the gate. So France has definitely risen the ranks from.
Are Nubia and like Scythia? They're still OP, and Germany and.
I've yet to see Scythia go head to head with Mongolia. That's what I want to see. 2 very competent players go head to head with that.
If Mongolia gets the trader out into Scythia's city, Mongolia wins. Because then it'll have.
You just declare war immediately.
I know, but this is what happens. I don't know. You can or cannot. It's just like, not everyone does it.
I mean, that's just foolish.
I know.
I play against Mongolia exactly like I play against Persia. You see them, you declare war immediately.
Yeah, that's the only way to do it.
Opportunity to send that trader or to declare war on you and get that movement. You just don't do it.
It's just silly mechanics.
I mean, there are a lot of a lot of civs have changed up and down. Like take America for example. America used to get better legacy bonuses on the governments. Now, because legacy bonuses don't really exist anymore, at least in the function that they originally did, America gets one of their diplomatic policy slot, the green cards that everyone's familiar with in the game. Those are wild card slots for America.
Yep.
And that in my mind, that's incredible.
Yeah, oligarchy. You now can have 2 military cards. You can now have 2 economic cards. Like you name it. I liked the original legacy bonuses for America, but I mean I like this just as well. I mean this is in a sense more practical because you can put whatever the hell card you want in it. And a lot of the times, I mean the green cards are useless. Like yeah, I get the +2 for
Merchant
city
Federation.
spins. Yeah, it's not good until Merchant Federation. But that's not till turn 50 or so.
I had another question for you, Salt Creek. And again,
Sure.
you're a newer player in the league and a newer player to Civ. And for all the other people out there that are still playing single player, they're not too sure about multiplayer. What is something you would like to impart to them? Like, what made you decide to make that leap of faith, to make the jump to multiplayer?
I like the experience a lot more. It's a lot more challenging. The community that I joined, the CPL community, is great. It makes it so the games are a lot of fun. Even though you will have a bit of a steep learning curve, the people are always there to help. So it's the community that really helps it out a lot. It makes it a lot easier to find games and learn.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a bigger learning curve. Like you go into an AI game and you're just sitting there walking around doing nothing and just slaying the AI. You go into multiplayer, you get your ass handed to you because humans are way more skilled, and so when you go from that different change, like I've never really been into playing single player. Like I think I have like 4,000 hours in the game, and at least 3,600 of it is multiplayer. Like that's what I play the game for, is multiplayer.
Oh yeah, no, that you're right. The learning curve is huge. You have to learn. You have to learn quickly how to defend against cavalry, and even I played my first teamers game the other day, and there was a huge learning curve on that. How to protect your land against, and we talked about America and stuff like that. But the people, as long as you tell people that you're new, then they'll help you a lot. But yeah, steep learning curve, a lot of challenge. That's another thing. There's a lot of challenge.
Well, thank you very much for that. And we did have something come from chat from one of our viewers today, and that is learning the mid game and the late game. What are words that you guys hear? You know, Louis, Blade, 2B, and Salt, for what you guys have experienced. What are things that you would say are the most important to focus on in the mid game and the late game, respectively?
What's the definition of when is mid game? Would you say, like, what turn are you talking about?
The turn 60 to 80 in my mind are the mid game. Maybe as far as turn 100 now, with how slow things have become.
I would say like Renaissance, Industrial, that timing period.
I can't say much because I don't necessarily get that far often in duels, and also I'm not very good, so I'm not gonna have a good do what I don't do, or do the opposite of what I do would probably be best for people.
Yeah, I don't get to the late game because usually I'm in an early war, which puts me in a position where I'm not probably going to win the game, or or I just get wiped off the map really quickly. So I would sort of say I focus on my defense first on the early game, and then for the mid game I just try to make sure if I do get into the 70 turn range, then I'm just making sure that all my districts and all that are and trade routes are up and running, so I can at least keep up with the science culture and stuff like that.
still trying to figure out what, like, at some point I get kind of lost to where I need to progress on the tech tree, or even especially the cultural. At a certain point, I don't really know what I'm moving towards once I get.
This is what you do. You go into the culture tree, you go to the atomic era, and then you just click communism, and then that's all you need to do.
I go democracy now.
Communism.
Communism is not as good as it was.
I know, but it's still good. It's still. I mean, I'll research democracy just so I can get the policy card for spamming planes, but communism is better.
I used to really like fascism.
You
Fascism
fascist.
is better for like unit production. But I was all about communism before Rise and Fall, but now, I mean, it's all about democracy for me.
Explain why.
Just the different bonuses that you get for it. To me, those bonuses are a lot better than getting a couple of production from districts.
It puts the science and engineer, industrial, those two cards into one card. So they're both efficiently saving you one slot right there. I don't know. I just like it because it just gives me the right amount. Like in the late game, I want like 2-3 red cards, so I can do mercenaries at any time. Because higher up, unless I have I have a Kamasi, and with a lot of trade routes or a Namadal, and it's like a fractal. I'm not gonna have that many. My cost is not gonna be more than 150, and that when you get into lane, you slow down significantly in how fast you get to civics. So I want to have that ability to produce naval units, to produce, or have my upkeep card, and I want to have my mercenaries card, all of them at the same time, while also still having the 4 economic cards and the 1 diplomatic or wild card, whatever. I just like it that way. And it has a +4 again in defense in your land, which is good because I usually let people war me, because by the time I get to communism, I'm getting teamed by people, as you've been seen by today. And if I don't get communism, if I get communism, it's easier for me to defend anyways. So.
Blade, how do you like the new alliance system? Is that making the teams games better, more interesting?
See, you still have to wait for civil service. So if one of your teammates is not really up on the culture, you can't make an alliance until everybody is at civil service. So I like the change. It has good benefits and good bonuses for it. It takes you a lot longer to establish like a level 2 or level 3 now. So you don't hit like level 2 and level 3 until, I would say, at least late industrial, maybe modern. Just because it takes you, 30 turns, 40 turns to rank up, and you're making like 1.5 per turn. And like traders, you get an extra, half point per turn for sending a trader, but I think that only counts like if you send 1, or if you send 10, it's still the same. So it takes you forever to rank up.
It does. I wonder if the trade agreements, the alliances, and their various forms and functions. Excuse me. I wonder if they're forced to stay at standard speed, like how governors apply when they get to the cities. Standard, online, marathon, it doesn't matter. It'll always take that governor 5 turns, 3 turns, whatever it is for that specific governor, to get established in that city. And I'm wondering if the alliances are forced to the same function. Because in all honesty, in any of the games I've played, I have yet to get an alliance past level 2. And it took a very long time to get it there.
Right, it did.
Because usually a game is called by then, or one of the two in the alliance backstabs each other.
No,
this is even in AI games as well. I mean, even in AI games I was playing, I went to the industrial era and only had a level 2 alliance. And I had many, many trade routes with this AI that I was next to.
But it only counts as one. One trader is the same as sending 10. It's not plus half a point per turn per trader.
Oh.
So you really like the new spy systems, Sarna? The spies are like better, more different missions.
Oh, I love them. You can, like I was saying earlier, you can eject governors. You can fabricate scandal. I call it assassination. You assassinate people's envoys and city-states now. It's just wonderful. I love that they expanded on the spies and the espionage table because it was badly needed.
You're going to see people. It's going to be a more powerful mechanic for people to use now. You think?
People have already been using spies more.
Before at the beginning, right? Hardly anybody was using spies, right, in the CPO.
Well, yeah, because there wasn't much reason to use them. But now you have that grease that's been pumping envoys that you just can't compete with because of their Acropolis. Well, now you just have spies assassinate all their envoys. It puts it re-levels the playing field, so to speak. Warranted, it takes a bit, but it's a way to level that side of the playing field that was previously almost untouchable, unless you had the Apadana and managed to secure a Wonder Span.
How fast can you get a spy in a game?
It all depends.
Well, if you're France, you get it real early at castles, which is on the way to cavalry tech. But not everyone rushes cavalry anymore because people are preferring to
somebody
go
gets
the
a bunch of first meets and you just cancel it out with your spy.
Well, by that point in the game, you're well past first meets, but
that guy's envoy basically with a spy.
Yeah, it'll execute envoys. It's wonderful.
Game a lot deeper, right? Haven't they? I mean, they've added a lot of just more strategy to the game.
The game's gotten a lot of depth that it previously didn't have in a lot of aspects and areas. We got a lot of quality of life improvements. The horizons definitely broadened compared to vanilla Civ 6, and I think that's something we can all agree on.
A deep game. Yeah, I mean, even vanilla was still a very, very deep game, so that's pretty cool that they made it even deeper. I think everybody agrees that this is the most change for an expansion. Like at least in Civ 4, the expansions didn't change things to this degree. I didn't play a lot of Civ 5, so I can't comment on those.
That is already flushed out with basically everything that Civ 5 had after all the expansions. Yeah, of course, it's going to be even more. But this expansion adds a shit ton of depth. Like all the strategy with the governors now, strategy with loyalty. I mean, it's awesome. I like it.
And any of the other expansions, at least, didn't it add more than the Civ 5, or definitely more than the Civ 4 expansions?
Like I just said, like Civ 5 or Civ 6 base game started with basically everything that the expansions had on Civ 5. So yeah, of course, this is more. It's more in depth.
So there has been some bugs being reported and other issues that have come up, and one that has been a thorn in quite a few people's side, whether it's from driving their OCD insane or just causing problems with calling games. The scores, they're not adding up. Because when you go to your score and you click the little button to expand it and you add up all your subtotals, it won't always add up to the total. For some people it might, but for most it won't. It'll be more, it'll be a lot less. Where are these points coming from? Where are they going?
I have seen it being your total score has always been less than what your actual score would be if you added up the, 5 categories separately. I don't think I've ever seen your actual score more than what the individual categories said. It's been as little as, like, say, 13 points to as big as, say, like 30 points, which is huge.
The era score, that's like a big, so I'm sure that's coming into play in CCing, right? Somebody's popping up the era score when they can sense a CC and jumping ahead of 1 or 2 people by getting a bunch of, era points.
I mean, you can't really fabricate era points. You get them from picking up goodies. The goodies disappear and you no longer have goodies. You get them from completing, like, the tech first. You get it from circumnavigating the world first.
You can, if you're the first civ in the game to field a unit, whether it's an archer, a sword, cav, right, you get 5 points for that.
Cities, and you got a bunch of neighbors, and you get that +2 for every city you convert to religion. You could bust your era score up pretty good in like 20 or 30 turns if you start converting. If you had a lot of faith.
I mean, you get religion is a very viable thing now for people to compete in points with because of that, and not only for your era score points, but for your religious points added to your score as well. Because before, well, why should I bother to invest in this religion? I fall so far behind. I don't gain anything out of it. It's not going to do anything for my score when this game gets called by the time it finally pays itself off. Well, it's not the case anymore. The game is slowed down so much because you need all these markets set up, these libraries, in order to get bonuses, in order to get trade routes even. So let's say you took stewardship, where a campus and commercial hub each would provide 1 science or 1 gold per turn, respectively, if it was in the city that followed your religion. Well, that +1 means a lot more now because you don't have an envoy sink in a city-state just giving you heaps of free science or gold. So these investments that really were easily shrugged and snubbed off are now worth looking at once again, even if it's only from 1 or 2 holy sites. That's like half a chop now. It'll because almost no one's making them still. That means the production cost for its total will be lower because there aren't many made.
And they give you better scores for religion now. You get more for every. What do you get more for every city that you convert, instead of just a base?
Foreign
you used to
city.
just get like every city you convert, you get more.
Every foreign city gives you.
You get
more
anything
points
for that, right? You just got the one for having a religion, and then that's about.
Originally, you got 6 points. You got 2 for the Pantheon, and then 2 for every belief, and that was all your points you ever got for religion. Now they increased. They removed the point for your Pantheon, and then they added, what is it, +5 now per belief, or is it +4 per belief? It's either 5 or 4. But so now you have a fully fleshed out religion, and it's like 12 points. And then you add 2 points per city you convert. So that if you're in a team game, you convert your allies. Look at that, you got a lot of era score.
So if you do that, where everybody's talking about the monumentality with the Golden Age, you can buy things with faith. So that's a good incentive to have some faith. Buy civilian units. I mean, you can buy like settlers and builders, and kind of a big change, right? Before you had to have the religious, what's the civic for theocracy to be able to do that, right? And even then, it wasn't civilian units, right? It was just military.
It was just military units. I mean, to buy military units now with faith, you still need the 2nd tier government building, which you don't ever want to do that. You want to go for the one that does spies. I mean, that's what I do. Like, even if I was going to do a faith purchase strategy, I'm not going to.
I mean, before, if you were making a theology play like that, you would see Russia get Dance of the Aurora as their pantheon, and their Lavras would generate heaps of faith because they'd get all these extra bonuses for being near tundra tiles. You would easily have these massive +6, sometimes even much higher and faith per turn almost immediately dropped from the Lavra. So they'd get the first writer, which would give them free culture, and then as they would have these monster faith productions early established, and by the time they got the theocracy, they were buying 10, 15, 20 Cossacks, not including the ones they just upgraded with gold.
Somebody called a Ponzi scheme where you get the double chopping with the, and then you get the faith, that one pantheon with the faith for every chop, and then you start buying a bunch of builders. And
I mean, that's if you get lucky and get the monumentality. At least for me, I mean, I play without barbs because barbs suck. So I don't get the plus 3 points for clearing every camp. So it's harder for me to get a golden age in classical. And so by the time medieval rolls around and I get a golden age, like all my cities are settled. So for me, monumentality is not really that ideal unless you want to postpone settling. And
I don't know. I usually see at least one person hopping into a golden age after class or ancient, sorry. So, but I always play with barbs on, so that I think that makes a huge difference.
I mean,
the game is meant to be played, and the barbs you need them more. Like Sarna was saying, I think last week, you need them to help with your era scores.
Yeah, I've played only a few games without barbs, and I've noticed that it was a lot harder to build era score, especially at the beginning there.
Units with the barbs, it helps you get a few extra promotions before you start running into the enemy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you'll have warriors, slingers with 1, 2, maybe even 3 promotions. And that's a really big deal when it comes to war. Those promotions are very impactful, especially when you get to the 4th promotion.
People pumping out more spearmen now that you get the 50% bonus for making them now?
Yes, they are, actually. I've seen a lot more spearmen hitting the field, especially when scouts are revealing horses in enemy lands. Like, they're just pre-building them, getting them ready to hold back while they get their archers up, more warriors out for swords. Just to have the spearmen there kind of in between every once in a while in the tiles to really jab at those horses and give them a
working on it, but they're pretty good actually. If you fortify them and you get them with a formation, so you get the little bonus, and you have them on good land, they're pretty good at, I think, at slowing down the horses. If you have them in a formation and you have a good land and you fortify them, and you maybe upgraded one or two of them.
Well, it's like playing any other war. You have to make your unit moves and choices for what order you do these things in intelligently. You have to be able to plan multiple moves ahead. I think the simplest way to explain this is it's like a game of chess. And the only difference is not only do you have to plan multiple moves in advance, you have to make those moves at pretty much near the same time. Instead of, making your move and hitting the clock for the next guy, you're making 5 pieces move, and he's making 5 or more pieces move. And it's all happening within fractions of a second. And it sucks sometimes where they have the faster computer or the faster internet, and they're able to get more moves out quicker than you are, but it's a part of online gaming at its core.
They made it so that the defensive player is much more viable, right? Because now you get the 50% on the spears, and you get that one governor that can help you get the +5 defense, and you get if the guy takes your city, it's probably going to flip back if he's near your other. So I think they really helped out that sim person that wants to defend at the beginning compared to vanilla. So I really like that.
Yeah, that defensive governor you can make, I'd say defensive governor. He's actually really good, especially if you're actually even on the offense there, because he only takes 3 turns to get in there, which means that he'll be established before a revolt happens. So
I had a ADCP gag order, but that was only for the first hour, so now I can say ADCP again. It's going to start in 2 weeks, so I'm trying to. Well, I'm not trying to. I've been, as everybody knows, I've been hyping it up a lot. Safe to say too much, but that's yeah, I overdo things, but yeah, I am hyping it though. You can't say I didn't hype it. I don't think there's a single person in the CPL saying, "Yeah, I wish that Lewis guy would talk more about ADCP." I'm guessing that nobody's saying that.
Well, when is the ADCP's first event, Louis?
To start it 2 weeks, like March 5th.
Well, that is a pretty short while from now, actually. And
A lot with you helped out definitely a good bit, and especially Yoshi. Yoshi's probably helping the most. So I go over it with him a lot. Gonna be, like I said, for those who don't know, it's just patterned after like men's pro tennis, how they do tournaments and everything. So I'm just blatantly, I'm just using the same names. Even the first event's going to be the Australian Open, so it's going to be like our biggest tier event, like a 32 draw, which I think we can do. 3 out of 5 matches.
Well, definitely sounds like it's going to be really exciting, and it's going to be a whole lot of Civ for sure. And these events and tournaments are going to be happening on a fairly regular basis. So even if you're someone out there who just couldn't get off of work for this one, there are more that are going to be going on throughout the year, because this is going to be a season, like seasons, where
it's going to be like every week there's going to be a tournament, except for we could definitely plan to take off time during the CCCs, that people can focus on that, because that's our biggest thing for the CPL. You said there was a number of people that were talking to you that were kind of curious about it, about the ADC, about our dual league, and so maybe we'll get a bunch of them to try out and join the league. But I hope that it'll help grow the CPL, because it is part of the. I mean, I'm calling it a league, but it's not a separate. It's part of the CPL. Not a separate.
Yeah.
It's not like
there are a lot of different players out there, whether you like single player, going on the AI, or you like just getting with a couple of buddies and bashing the AI together, whether you're huge into the multiplayer scene like most of the people at the CPL are. There's tons of different gamers out there, and for some of you who really want to get in on that 1v1, those duel type games, this is something specifically designed for you, and I highly recommend you check it out. Just come on to the CPL community Discord, shoot King Louis XIV a message, and he will be more than happy to get information out to you.
I may just find you. I'll hunt you down and just find you if I see you on the CPL and tell you about it. No, we can have a lot of tournaments. So we actually have tons of the little events. So for people who are just like more noobs, you can still like do well and win some tournaments, because the top players probably won't play in too many of our lowest tier events. But that's good. I think it's good people can play a tournament and actually have a chance to win, instead of just getting crushed in the our big events. And I'm hoping that even the top players who don't want to play regularly will at least play the top events, because I still wonder who is the best player. Right now we have a system where you have the the other Red Phoenix, other top players, but I don't know if we can really say definitively who is. They don't always even play each other in games, right? They're playing different. The duel is like a very clear-cut thing. Here, okay, boom, you play 3 out of 5, and over a long season, the person that wins the most, I think you could clearly say, is the best. That person's the best at duels.
Well, it's definitely going to be something exciting for those people out there who have felt events that have been going on.
And then a ladder. And that's kind of how I came up with it, because I'm a big tennis fan. So I thought, wow, what do we do? And I just thought, oh, why don't you do it like this? And so I think it seems to, because tennis, the singles tennis is duels. It's like on a tennis. So
absolutely, and it's going to be an exciting option, an alternative for people out there who just weren't drawn to some of the other events that have been going on. The Clan Championship Cup, for example. Well, I don't really know. My group's not fully on board. I was interested, but they weren't, or a couple of us were. Well, this is something that you can get into as an individual and not worry about that. You don't have to worry about having a full team with alternatives on board.
Without the, you were the one that I got the ball rolling, getting more duels, but then you did that CPL Challenger Series, which was another big step. And so I think, that was the precursor to the, saw that and said, like, we want to do more of this. And so that was definitely a precursor to the ADCP that you did that tournament.
We definitely expanded a lot upon the base concept, and it was made better. It was improved upon, and that was the goal, was for it to be better, for it to be a better option out there for people. And I'm very happy to see that it's growing.
I mean, that was a great event. It was a great event. I think the one thing I changed about your CP is just to make it so people can schedule their own matches, so that it's easier to get more people to play on, like, for something that's going to be an ongoing thing. Change that I departed from which was, but yours was good because that was an event where you're going to have people. It was like one event and you were having people stream it, and so you needed certain set times. But for this is like an ongoing. We're going to try it out and see how it works to let people schedule their own matches, and so just to make it so more people can play.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how it goes. But we are going to cut the podcast here for the week. A huge thanks to all of our guests coming out, as well as Blade 7 for joining us partway in. Huge thanks for coming on board to 2B and Salt Creek as well. I'm very happy to have on board, especially you, Salt Creek, being a newer part of the community. I was very happy and excited to see you interested in the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for coming on, everybody. We always like to get. We have some familiar faces on here, but yeah, we like to get some new people as guests too. So that's great to always get some new people on here. So thanks everybody for coming on, and thanks for letting me babble about ADCP a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's good to have things that you're passionate about like that, and there's nothing wrong with it. Well, with that in mind, a huge thanks to all of our viewers out there, whether you joined us on Twitch or over on YouTube Live, whether you've watched us live or you're watching us on your mobile device, TV, or tablet back at home throughout the weeks. A huge thanks for your viewership and support. I would not be able to be doing this without you guys out there. Huge thanks, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time.